Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
The state government is reassuring Tasmanian women low-cost surgical abortion services are available, despite the opposition's claims they aren't. Labor says there's no excuse that dedicated services aren't offered through the public system here in Tasmania.
A sensitive issue in the spotlight once again.
It's estimated that up to 1 in 3 women will need to access a termination during the course of their lifetime.
Federal Labor today announcing if it wins the upcoming election, it would offer surgical abortion services across Australia in the public health system and establish a reproductive health hub.
Family Planning Tasmania welcomes the announcement if it means better regional access and support for women.
But the federal government isn't matching the promise and the state government isn't either.
The Health Minister clearly has no idea of what the reality of the situation is here in Tasmania, and that is because he does not want to know.
There was a period of time where a low-cost provider wasn't available in Tasmania, but there is now, and it has been since November.
In November last year, the government said a dedicated provider, Hampton Park Women's Health Centre, would soon be opened in Tasmania, but that service still isn't operating. The government not confirming whether it ever will.
The in-principle agreement has been reached, including with the involvement of the Department of Health. In the meantime, there is access and there is a low-cost provider.
To my knowledge, every woman that's requested or needed the service to date has had the procedure performed.
The Patient Travel Assistance Scheme is still available for Tasmanian women living in regional areas to travel to Melbourne for the procedure rather than having it done here in the state.
The reality is that a small number of private providers have stepped up because the government have failed to provide this service for Tasmanian women.
Calls for the service to be made available in regional areas now reiterated, but Family Planning Tasmania says any move to improve access is welcomed.
For such an important sexual and reproductive health service, which is a women's health right, it should be publicly available and also more accessible.
Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
A man who died on the weekend following an alleged one-punch attack at a Hobart nightclub almost 2 weeks ago has been named as University of Tasmania geographer academic Stuart Williams. The university sent a letter to its staff saying the 54-year-old was highly regarded and it's sad that his life and potential has been cut short. An 18-year-old was charged with assault following the alleged incident, with the Department of Prosecutions now reviewing that charge. The state government says it is committed to implementing one-punch laws.
We are committed to one-punch legislative reform, and we are going to find the best model for our state, and we're going to bring it to Parliament, and we're committed to making it law.
We will scrutinise any bill they bring before us, and we will determine our position based on what is presented to us by the government.
The Tasmanian Hospitality Association says it's working with government to introduce the laws. A man accused of killing a Launceston father in an early morning hit and run has faced the Magistrates Court. Dylan Leo Victor Lee fronted court for the first time today following the September crash which claimed the life of Adrian Tudor. In January, Mr Victor was charged with manslaughter, causing grievous bodily harm and failing to stop. The 22-year-old did not enter a plea and will reappear in the Launceston Magistrates Court on April 30. There are urgent calls from tour guides to protect the state's penguins following yet another suspected dog attack. The bodies of 14 little penguins were discovered mauled along the Lowhead coastline last week, and a warning, some viewers may find the following images distressing.
A gruesome and increasingly familiar fate. Little penguins left bloody and twisted for the 3rd time in 9 months, scattered along the sands here at Lowhead.
It's horrible to see them because they're not a pretty sight when you see them.
Shirley Lincoln has watched over these shores for 23 years, showing tourists the nightly parade. Last weekend, the bodies of 14 birds were found by walkers and park rangers. The suspected culprits are once again believed to be dogs. Shirley's signs make it clear, but the sanctuary keeps coming under attack.
Some people just let them roam, but once they get the smell of a penguin or something, they will kill.
Between 3,000 and 5,000 birds nest in the rookeries. The tour operator is worried the continued killings will not only hurt the population, but also her business.
It was the start of our breeding season, and they're a pair. There's 2 chicks that we don't get coming back in.
In October, 58 penguins were slaughtered. Another dozen were mauled in June. The Department of Parks and Wildlife says it's working with the tour company and Georgetown Council to help save the precious species. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
A Tasmanian advanced manufacturing company says it will bid for a share in a $1 billion fund proposed by federal Labor if it wins power. Definium says it's working towards doubling in size.
We constantly reach stages where we need to find a way to scale. We make very good use of the R&D tax incentive. And if there are other facilities that would help us grow this kind of company in Tasmania, then yeah, we'll take advantage of it.
Ensuring that we fill the gaps that the banking system's not able to service.
Labor says it will help pay for the scheme by closing loopholes in the tax system. One of the biggest logistical exercises ever seen in Tasmania has taken place while most of us were still in bed. Blades nearly 80 metres in length travelled from Bell Bay to the Cattle Hill Wind Farm in the Central Highlands. A painstaking trip taking up to 8 hours.
In the dark of night, flashing lights reveal a convoy hauling the most heavy duty of loads. Monster wind farm blades weighing 25 tonnes and stretching nearly 80 metres in length. These pictures show the cargo crawling up Launceston's southern outlet at 4 a.m. this morning.
Anywhere you want along there, mate, it's all clear.
Drivers had a breather in Campbelltown, the halfway point on the 280-kilometre journey to the Cattle Hill Wind Farm. Motorists are advised these deliveries will continue until early August, causing some delays for early morning commuters. While at Western Junction, these steel sheets are being rolled into giant cylinders for the project. They'll soon be welded together to form a tower.
We're quite fortunate. We've been building towers since about 2001. And we've built all the towers to date in the state.
The company's supplying 48 towers to Cattle Hill.
We certainly hope to be able to build on other projects as they come through later in this year for other states as well.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
A small shed was destroyed by fire at Dysart today after weather conditions caused a hazard reduction burn to escape. Crews from Baghdad, Kempton and Brighton attended the blaze just after midday, but the structure wasn't able to be saved despite its owner following precautions. The Tasmania Fire Service is reminding people to remain vigilant and monitor changing weather conditions when conducting fire operations. Aspiring Tasmanian musicians had the chance to jam with an Aussie rock favourite today, the renowned Australian singer sharing some of his industry secrets. Mentoring students at Claremont College, Thirsty Merc frontman Ray Thistlethwaite encouraged the future performers to continue perfecting their craft.
A potential smash hit, performed after hours of practice. The original piece, written and performed by these Claremont College students, all taking part in the Songmakers program.
Like at the start of the day, I had doubts, like we had no idea where to start, and then it's like the whole middle process kind of, I don't remember what happened, but then suddenly we had this song.
It's about bringing schools and high-profile Australian musicians and producers together to get students turned on to the importance of creating their own material if they want a career in the music industry.
Prominent Australian musicians, such as the ARIA award-winning frontman of Thirsty Merc, here in Hobart to share his wisdom with the students.
So it's really nice, after, fair few years in the game, to be able to offer some advice to some younger aspiring musicians and students.
Yes, actually at the start he just made us all feel really comfortable. I feel like that's a sign of a really, really good artist and a really nice person. It was really inspiring, watching him at that level, and I was like, man, I want to be there too.
And when it comes down to it, according to those who know, practice really is the key to success.
You hear about your Bob Dylans who come up with Blowing in the Wind in 5 minutes, or they're just sitting there and the entire song's there, or, we have those people, but to be honest, it's really more about perspiration than the inspiration.
The upcoming musicians are set to record their tracks in the school studio tomorrow. Rebecca Main, 7 Tasmanian News.
A Hobart High School debating team has come up trumps and is revelling in today's win over 3 local Supreme judges. The great debate in celebration of Newtown High School's centenary year, with old scholars battling it out with current students. The teenagers arguing the voting age should not be lowered to 16.
It was quite tough, like having to put down your own generation. Although I was trying to say we could vote, we were trying to say we couldn't. So it was kind of interesting saying that our generation can't.
Both teams had 2 weeks to prepare for the debate. Around 20 of the state's leading health workers have been keeping to the beat and refreshing their vital life-saving skills in Hobart today. The course is in high demand as 37,000 Tasmanians now currently live with heart disease.
It's about understanding those symptoms, being able to see where a patient may require something and actually preventing that from occurring. So it's about prevention as well as actually being able to deal with these situations.
It's a great model, and I know that there are ideas about how it can be improved in the future, but for now, Tasmanians can be assured it's a great course, high quality, and we're turning out GPs as good or better than anywhere else in the world.
The training workshop will continue tomorrow, with the GPs required to undertake a refresher course every 12 months.
Matthew Wade is knocking on the door of national selectors again after another strong innings with the bat. Wade made 86 for 128 balls to save Tasmania in its Sheffield Shield clash against Victoria. The Tigers were trailing by 237 runs a short time ago.
There was a shout on the first ball, but it took until the 3rd over of play for the Tigers to strike.
That's a full ball hit on the pad, that's got to be close, and yeah, he gets it.
Early confidence was soon crushed.
It's got edges and he's juggling, drops, and then Wade can't get there.
A fumble reminiscent of a circus act had only sobering consequences. Dropped on 36, Seb Gotch went on to make 93, lifting Victoria's total to 454. The response began poorly.
Ball is caught! Andrew Feckerty.
Jordan Silk gone for 7. Charlie Wakim played a nice shot through cover, parting the Seagulls in the process, but he edged it to the slip soon after on 17. Alex Doolan was next.
Well, you don't usually see that. A ball that hits the pads, the keeper diving full stretch down the leg side to stop it, that it's given out LBW.
Then Jake Doran went for a duck.
Wicket and gets a vicious delivery. What a ball!
But Matthew Wade kept the Tigers in it, bringing up his 7th half-century for this Sheffield Shield season and surely putting more pressure on national selectors to take note. He just fell short of a century, getting out for 86. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmanian News.
Well, it's only a matter of time before Tasmania produces a surfing world champion. That's according to Surfing Australia's new CEO. He visited the state today, promising more support for our next generation of aspiring wave riders. He's only been in the top job a few months, and Surfing Australia's new CEO spent the last couple of days getting a crash course in Tasmania's rich surfing history.
What have I heard about Tasmanian surfing? I know it's cold. It can be cold. I heard the waves can be absolutely epic. I heard there's some amazing point breaks. I know there's a whole bunch of hardcore committed Tasmanian surfers.
And while the state has produced some world-class riders, no one from Tasmania has ever quite cracked it on the sports world stage. Marta is confident, however, that the tide is turning.
Incredible waves, you've got passionate, dedicated people. So, yeah, I could see a point in time where we have a Tasmanian surfer on the world tour. Competing at the highest level.
And with surfing now an Olympic sport, its peak national body has received an increase in funding as a result that's now set to filter through to Tasmania, offering our best young talent more support towards helping them reach that pinnacle. And with more access to high-performance programs on the way, Marta says it's only a matter of time before we see the next Mick Fanning or Joel Parkinson springing up through the ranks.
For a Tasmanian, that's probably going to Victoria and surfing Bells Beach, that's going to Snapper and surfing at Snapper, and not only surfing those waves, but surfing with those athletes and being in that high-performance environment as well.
Tasmania's next crop of female soccer stars were given a few tips today by someone who's competed at the highest level, with former Matildas legend Heather Garriock visiting the state for a series of school clinics to mark Female Football Week across the country.
Contributes to life skills as well, and being part of a team and just maintaining a healthy lifestyle, which is really important. So I think the steps are in place, especially from a junior grassroots level here in Tassie. So great to see.
Gary Ock played 130 games for Australia and is the current coach of Canberra United in the W League. Well, after only taking up the sport of karate a few years ago, a young Tasmanian is now preparing to compete for a world title, and Sienna Marshall is hoping she has what it takes to match it against the best up-and-comers on the planet. It's hard to tell from looking at this, but Sienna Marshall was once a very timid teen.
When I first started, I lacked self-confidence and had very low self-esteem to start off with, and my auntie actually recommended it, and she was like, why don't we just try, some self-defense classes?
She then stumbled on karate, taking to it like a seasoned pro. And after less than 3 years in the sport, the 16-year-old recently took out the Australian title in her age division, all whilst carrying an injury.
I was even quite shocked. Everyone was like, no, you shouldn't go. They were even the day before, we're not sure if this is a great idea for you to even compete. The proudest moment of my whole life, for sure.
Mindset of a champion, really just showed me that when you do put your mind to something and you believe it in all of your heart, you're able to accomplish it, and she definitely nailed that for sure.
The win earning her a spot in the Australian squad for June's Karate World Cup in the United Kingdom. And although she'll be up against far more experienced competitors, her sensei says she's already proven what's possible.
It's an amazing achievement. There's some people that have been training in the art of karate for a good 10 to 15 years and haven't even reached this standard nationally, yet alone worldwide. There's definitely big things for Sienna Marshall in the future.
Amazing. It would definitely be a dream come true. I can't even put it into words.
We've had a mild day with showers over most of the state. Hobart and Burnie with a top of 16 degrees, Launceston 19 and Devonport 18. 19 was the top at Friendly Beaches, Flinders Island and St Helens all 18, Smithton and Low Head 17, Maria Island 16, King Island, Ouse and Strawn all 15, Grove 14 with a top of just 8 for Lyowini. Looking to the satellite, speckled cloud over the state with some taller and more substantial thunderstorm cloud moving away from the east coast. Zooming out, that speckled cloud extends over the Victorian coast with showers and storms over New South Wales and Queensland as well. Tomorrow, the high pressure system from the Bight has moved over Victoria with a new cold front building to the south of WA. On the coast, westerly winds reaching up to 25 knots with swells at almost 4 metres in the west and south. And there are a few warnings in place. A gale wind warning between Southeast Cape and Low Rocky Point, a strong wind warning for the rest of the coast, and a small craft wind alert for the southwest lakes. A partly cloudy day for Hobart tomorrow, 21 the top. Cygnet and New Norfolk both 21 and cloudy. Launceston partly cloudy with a top of 21 degrees, Devonport 19, Campbelltown 20. Burnie, partly cloudy, looking at a top of 19, a shower or two for Strawn, 18, Smithton 20. St Helens, mostly sunny with a top of 21, Swansea 22, Fingal 21. UV, high over Hobart and very high over the rest of the state. Looking ahead now to the end of the week, showers about the west and south on Friday, extending into the east from late morning. Saturday mostly fine apart from light showers in the east, and Sunday showers developing about the north and west later in the morning, but mostly fine elsewhere. Looking at the big map tomorrow, rain for Perth, showers for Brisbane, and a mostly sunny day for Adelaide, Sydney and Melbourne. Finally, let's take a look at the conditions right now. And Joe, that's all for today's weather. Back to you.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Brit. And that's all from the news team for now. We will, of course, see you with updates throughout the evening. Have a lovely night. Bye for now.